The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in the NBA.
Houston Rockets fans really thought that Steph Curry was not going to get his. Man, this team needs a case study on why they cannot hang on to leads. The sloppy basketball comes back, the careless turnovers, the inability to stop Houston, specifically Steven Adams, really changed the course of this game when his size came into play. Şengün was awesome, but you can rely on a couple of things. One, Steph Curry, 31 in the game. 2, playoff Jimmy. He's real, 25, and played much better than just the points say. And 3, I don't know whether you can always rely on it, but you'll absolutely take some Moses Moody stones down the stretch. He hits big bucket after big bucket. Kylan, let's start with you. What were kind of the defining moments from this game that really made you feel like the Warriors were able to sneak this one out?
It was that second quarter run for me, Chuck. That's where the Warriors defense took over this game. Not just were they getting stops in that first 6 minutes of the second quarter, they also were forcing turnovers. It was 5 steals for the Dubs, and that allowed them to get out in transition. You're going up against the trees. You don't have the most size. Get those bunnies on the other end by playing good defense. Like I said, not just stops, so really being disruptive and getting the Rockets out of their offensive system and then stealing the basketball. To me, that was the difference during that stretch, which I think it was an 18-3 or 2 run when it was all said and done for the Dubs. Then once you have that separation, it's about protecting the lead, managing the game. Yes, there were definitely some turnover concerns in the third quarter, but then the other thing that you saw in the fourth was playoff Jimmy and the fact that the Dubs now have 2 closers. You've got Steph Curry, a guy who you know can come through in the clutch, but now you also have Jimmy Butler. So when teams are double and tripling, draping Steph, face guarding him, whatever they want to throw at him, you have another option. And a guy who can score in a different way, I think, is also crucial because Jimmy, the mid-range master, was on display tonight. It's ridiculous stuff. And again, a guy who can just play physical, someone who can score in the paint, which the Warriors have not had. No offense, Draymond Green and Kevon Looney. I think we all know that, the writing is on the wall. Those two are, if you feed it to them inside, the defense is not collapsing and going crazy. And Jimmy Butler can draw defensive attention inside the paint, or he can go up and score through traffic. I mean, the guy's ridiculous through contact. So those are the 2 things that stood out to me. I think the way that Steph and Jimmy showed up huge in that fourth quarter. In addition to, you mentioned, I thought Moses Moody hit a couple of big shots with that corner 3 with a minute to go. And then he had a fadeaway mid-range shot with a couple minutes left when the Rockets were really starting to close the gap. It was late in the shot clock. I thought that was a clutch shot. And when you have Jimmy and Steph playing the way they were playing, like, that's all you need from your role players. Yeah. Just do enough. Just hit timely baskets. And so I'm really encouraged by what we saw from the Dubs during that defensive stretch, especially in the second quarter, and then closing out this game, hitting some big shots.
Kolsky, Batman and Robin, man. We heard the theme again after the game where on the TNT broadcast, Jimmy comes out and says, that's Batman for you. Sometimes he just falls from a building and ruins your dreams. That's what Batman does. And I'm just here to, provide enough support for Steph and protect this man at all costs. So when we do win an NBA championship, I like to think that I can help, but Steph Curry is going to be the one that gets the job done. How about the fact that Rockets fans were so confident in them just having the size, the switchability, the length, the versatility, and the face guarding capabilities from Thompson to where they legit thought that Steph Curry was going to be bottled up this entire series? That was debunked game 1.
You're not going to have another 3-point Steph Curry game. Sorry, I just had to say that. Good to see you, Kolsky.
How can Rockets fans fall for that again? You guys have been here before, unless you just joined up. Like, what's happening here? He's done this to you enough times. Somebody look up Steph Curry's playoff stats in Houston. He eviscerates them for fun. It's, I guess Amen Thompson is a legitimately exciting player who has a great future in this league, but it's not the future yet. And I would say the same about a lot of these Rockets guys. And for me, what you just said, Kylan's second takeaway, that's the big thing for me tonight. Look, the Warriors didn't play great. There were a lot of problems with tonight's game. Kylan mentioned the turnovers. You're not going to win a lot of NBA playoff games in 2025 with 95 points, but the Rockets are not in their class, and they do not have answers in the half court to deal with the Warriors defense. And they just really don't have anybody. I mean, tonight was a very on-brand performance for a team that self-professes to be led emotionally by Dylan Brooks. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know what else to tell you. That's what's going to happen when Dylan Brooks is your guy. He's an unserious basketball player, and ultimately the Rockets were not a serious playoff team in tonight's game. And it's a bummer that the Warriors didn't blow them out, because they really should have. But on the other hand, it's kind of a treat, because the fact that the game was close in the fourth quarter means we get to see the thing that, if the Warriors have any shot at doing some damage in this year's playoffs, that's the difference maker. It's Steph Curry and it's Jimmy Butler in the fourth quarter. And I can't believe Jimmy had us all wondering if playoff Jimmy was going to happen. It's definitely happening.
Right in front of our eyes. That's what consistently happens with this man. It doesn't make any sense how every single season he'll have regular season games where he'll put up 4 shots and score 6 points, and then the playoffs roll around. He plays 42 minutes. He goes 10 of 19, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 steals, 25 points, and a remarkable plus 14 in the game, only fouling once. That's a topic that I want to bring up, is the physicality that the refs allowed in this game, minus a couple minutes of the third quarter to start, where they called 5 fouls in 1 minute. Aside from that, like, they're hand slapping balls. They're, people poking the ball away from behind. There's a lot of reaching going on, a lot of grabbing, and not a ton of it getting called. And I thought that's how the Warriors played a little different than they did the last time these two teams matched up, specifically from their leader, Steph Curry, on defense. I thought he was getting real physical with Jalen Green. He played awesome. And it was a case of, like, Steph basically saying, look, if this is how they're going to play me, I'm going to play them the same way and make the Zebras call it. And they didn't, Kylan.
Yeah, I think that definitely was a factor in the loss. I mean, I think last time they played Houston, this team was all up in Steph's grill, and there were a lot of calls that did not go Golden State's way. I actually thought that last game especially was not a well-officiated game. Just, I'm going to say, I don't like to always point at the refs and losses, but I think that they let a lot go on Steph Curry in that game where the Rockets held him to just 3 points. I think that was a major factor. Here's the thing for me. I don't know if it's as much about the physicality for me in terms of what the Rockets are doing defensively, as much as I think that the Warriors are able to adapt. And I thought they handled the pressure really well. I think there were stretches of the game where we saw concerns in terms of the turnovers, and that's where you see the Rockets playing really physical. But I think the offense has to be adaptable. And one thing that stood out that I liked is the fact that the Rockets early on went with a really big lineup, and the Dubs struggled for a period of time where they were, and the same thing, honestly, in the third quarter. That's one of my biggest concerns actually moving forward in the series, is not necessarily how it's being called, but the physicality on the glass for me is the big issue. Because when the Rockets went on that huge run in the third quarter, I mean, there were multiple possessions where they weren't just getting 1 O board, they're getting 2 O boards, 3 O boards. You can't give this team 3 opportunities to score the basketball. You just can't do it against a good team in a playoff series.
They suck at shooting, but when they get one of, they get 3 opportunities, eventually you're going to hit one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think that, and we know this is a great offensive rebounding team. We know it's a great rebounding team, but the Dubs hung with them actually last time they played, because that was something I was looking back at the last couple box scores. And I think the Warriors actually did a good job. Like, they were almost dead even in rebounding. The problem was Steph Curry only scored 3 points. But this time around, that was my big concern. It wasn't necessarily the physicality in terms of the face guarding. I think the Warriors were able to work around the pressure, maybe dealt with some turnovers that were unnecessary. But I think for me, more it's the physicality on the glass. And if they're going to let a lot go, the Dubs have to play tougher. I have to put a body on someone. I thought that there were moments where Quentin Post was a little too soft when he was in the game, whether it was going up for O boards or that one dunk stuck with me. I'm like, man, you got to go up harder than that. Was it the first or second quarter? And the fact of the matter is the Dubs don't have a dominant physical big. So, like, how are you going to deal with the way this Houston Rockets team rebounds the basketball when you don't have a dominant big? I think that could be the big concern moving forward in the series, because Houston didn't shoot the ball well. You mentioned when they start shooting the ball well, and then they're also getting their own misses. I think that's where the Dubs could run into some trouble. They've got to deal with that physicality on the glass.
Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. Play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. Already have a console? A Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take you or your kids' games wherever you plug in. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices including Fire TV Stick 4K, 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen.
Boston Celtics get the win in game 1 over the Orlando Magic. Boston Celtics get the win 103-86. 103, not a lot of points for the Boston Celtics, but 86, very few points for the Orlando Magic. Later on, we'll get into some of these numbers and why this really is kind of like a numbers. The numbers tell you that this is what we should have expected. This is kind of what the stats were pointing us to, this kind of game. The Orlando defense, what they did to Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, mostly Jason Tatum coming up. I want to just start here with Drew Holiday, because Drew is the guy who kind of changed the game in the second half. The Celtics in the first half, they won the first quarter 26-18. They lost the second quarter 31-22. That second quarter, a lot of second chance points, a lot of offensive rebounds. I didn't like the way the Celtics were giving up offensive rebounds. Second chance points in the second quarter, 5-5, but the Celtics gave up 10 offensive rebounds in the first half. They just, the rebounding was not where it needed to be. The Celtics played slow. The Celtics gave up too many extra possessions, and it didn't hurt them. They weren't crushed by second chance points, but by giving up all of those extra possessions to the Orlando Magic, the Celtics weren't able to get out and run. They weren't able to kind of dictate the pace, and it hurt them in the second quarter. Orlando got big performances from Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero. That second quarter was a big one for both of them. They combined for 20 points. Banchero had 12 of his 36 in that second quarter. I got my box score over here. The second quarter was a bit of a disaster. To give up 63% shooting to the Orlando Magic, 31 points in a quarter, is kind of unforgivable. The Magic are capable behind Banchero of putting up some points, but that percentage is ridiculous. 5 of 9 shooting. Banchero went 2 of 3. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope went 2 of 3. Joe Mazzulla called a couple of those timeouts, was very upset with how the team was performing. Holiday comes in the second half, the third quarter, changes the entire game, the complexion of the game by, playing defense, but also pushing the pace. He had a couple of plays where pushing it off of makes, just forcing Orlando to pick up their matchups, to understand who do I have? Do you have him? Do I have him? Okay, no, like that level of like just a brief amount of confusion, a second of like, no, I'm going to him. No, you're going to him. Okay, I'm going to go back this way. It just opens things up. It forces them into a little bit of rotation. It forces them into a little bit of confusion. That is enough to open up the 3-point looks that the Celtics were lacking. Now, the Celtics only got 37 3-point attempts up, but in the second half, they were able to put up a few. Let's see, in the third quarter, they put up 10, and in the fourth quarter, they put up 11. So 21 of those. So that would have been a 42. That's a 42 3-pointer pace. It's a little bit more on par of what they're used to. I mean, the Celtics are used to putting up 48, 49, 50. But in the first half, because the Celtics were going up against the set defense, they weren't able to generate a lot of those shots. I said it on last week with the preview podcast. I said it to Philip Rossman Reich. I said it to Tom Westerholm. The Celtics' best chance here at bucking the trend, bucking the statistical trend, is rebound, get out in transition, push the pace. You got to play faster than the Orlando Magic. You got to go out there and even if you're matching the field goal attempts, you got to play with a good tempo. You got to play with that pace and tempo that forces the Magic to make decisions and not get set. The Celtics were playing against a set defense that bothered them in the first half. They got caught up in the call it pigeon hunting game where they were just looking for the mismatches. And I think this is where it got a little too bogged down. You know, why Kristaps Porzingis didn't have his best game, 1 of 8. Super physical Orlando team. Physicality does bother Porzingis a little bit, but he was really adamant about trying to take these mismatches into the post. I want to see Porzingis out in the 3-point line. I want to see him pick and pop more than anything. And I think the way the Celtics should attack in the half court is quick decisions, quick ball movement, quick, just that 0.7, that 0.5 basketball, or 0.7, 0.2 of a second is, you know, we deal with that. But that quick decision, drive, get off the ball quickly. Don't sit there and hunt just mismatches. Don't just go out there and be like, where's Cole Anthony if he's in the game, or where's, you know, whoever, Corey Joseph. You have to be able to move quickly, move the ball, move your body, force Orlando to kind of adjust to you and your pace and your style. Holiday in the third quarter did a great job of that. The Celtics were starting to get up then, at that point, better shots, more 3-point attempts. They were rebounding better. They were defending better. That's where this entire game changed. Holiday with a perfect third quarter, 3 of 3 from 3. Was it 12 points? What did he finish with? 9 points. He was a plus 12. That's, I keep focusing on the 12. 9 points, 4 assists, 2 steals, and no turnovers for Holiday. That was a great quarter. They got 10 points out of Jaylen Brown there. They got 6 points out of Derek White. And it was just a nice balanced scoring attack with Holiday understanding. I keep calling Holiday the adult in the room. Not that this isn't a very veteran team, and like, I don't want to disrespect what Tatum and Brown are, but I call Holiday the adult in the room because he's just so poised and understands, okay, this is what this game needs, right? He doesn't get too caught up in, I think, some of these, like Tatum gets caught up in the mismatch hunting a little bit. Jaylen does as well. Holiday's just like, okay, you know what? We need to push a little bit. So I'm going to go out there and push. And that was exactly that's where this game changed. The Celtics went into the first half. They were down 1, and then they came out of the third quarter up 11. They won that third quarter 30-18. They won the fourth quarter 25-19. We had some garbage time at the end of the third quarter. At the end of the fourth quarter, it took Orlando the whole third quarter plus 7 minutes of the fourth. So 19, almost 20 minutes to get to 32 points after scoring 31 points in the second quarter alone. So the Celtics third quarter, pivotal.
The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action right now. When you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. From 3-pointers to steals to assists, there are so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
The Cleveland Cavaliers open up the playoffs with a 121-100 win over the Miami Heat.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
The Cavs, I didn't think played their best game on Sunday, but they certainly played well enough to win. And I was really impressed, with the play of Donovan Mitchell. And it wasn't just what he did offensively. He scored 30 points. He didn't necessarily shoot the ball that well from 3. I thought he was fantastic inside the arc. He had one layup in the second half that was a left-hand reverse layup that was just absolutely nasty. He had that going. He was able to get to the spots that he wanted to. The shots just didn't necessarily fall. He hit a couple of big ones later in the game. But overall, it wasn't a great shooting night from him, but I still thought he had a really good game. And what was most important about Mitchell's game to me was all of the other things that he did, right? Like the scoring was there. The 30 points, very important. Cavs needed that. I thought that was a statement. We'll talk about that in a second. But the fact that he had 4 steals, the fact that it felt like every time there was a jump ball, or excuse me, every time there was a loose ball, it felt like Donovan Mitchell was on the ground. He was getting his hand basically on as many deflections as he could. He forced a jump ball with Bam Adebayo, which of course, he lost the jump ball because Bam is going to win that 9 out of 10 times. But the fact that he was diving on the floor for loose balls, I really think says a lot about the statement that the Cavs needed to make. And I don't think they needed to come out and necessarily play their best ever playoff game because of what OKC did earlier on Sunday, or win this game by 40 points to really send a message across the league. I think they needed to send a message to the Miami Heat that, because Miami is known for doing all the little things correctly, right? Like they're a team that, and they put it on their floor at one point. And I'm glad it's not there anymore because it was hideous. But at one point they put it on their floor. Like they're going to outwork you, out hustle you, do everything. And I thought that the way Donovan played on Sunday night was saying, we know what you guys are about. And I think the Cavs have a lot of respect for Miami. I think they have more respect for Miami, despite the fact that they finished 37-45 this year, despite the fact that they were the 10 seed before the play-in. I think they have more respect for Miami than they would like a normal number 8 seed. I do think that Miami has their attention in a way that I'm just not entirely sure one of the other potential 8 seeds would have. So I do think that's a good thing. But I thought the way Donovan played was a message that we're not going to be outworked. Just because we're 64 win team, just because we're the 1 seed, doesn't mean that we're expecting to float on by in this series. I thought his play really was that kind of message. I thought he competed really hard defensively. I thought Darius Garland competed really hard defensively. I thought Evan Mobley played relatively well defensively. Overall, like that is the area where I was impressed with the Cavs the most, was probably what they did on the defensive end. And it wasn't perfect. I do think that the defensive effort the Cavs put forth on Sunday, and I understand Miami shot the ball well from outside, but it did feel like a lot of those were some pretty contested looks. Like if you were to simulate what the Cavs did defensively over a 10-game stretch against Miami, like if they play this exact game 10 times over, I don't know how many times Miami shoots a better percentage from beyond the arc, which was, I believe, 41.6%. I don't know how many times they outperform that, right? It kind of felt like, okay, are they going to shoot the ball better than this? And, Tyler Hero had a fine game shooting. He made a few triples like that. Those things are going to happen because they do have good shooters. It's not like this Heat team is just a bunch of pushovers, but I did think that the defensive effort from the Cavs was something that we needed to see, and it showed up. And I thought that is something that Cavs fans should be happy about going into game 2, is that the Cavs played, I thought, well defensively. They put a lot of pressure, especially early in this game. They put a lot of pressure on the basketball when Miami had it. It felt like their ball pressure in the half court was so much closer to the half court line than it was during the regular season. It felt like they really amped things up as far as that goes. And I thought that was a good sign. I think that's just going to be something that we're going to see more of as the postseason rolls along, as the series rolls along. And then, of course, one of the other huge stories from this game, Ty Jerome. Ty was remarkable. First ever playoff game. And, I was sitting in my seat during the fourth quarter. And he had 16 of his 28 points in the fourth quarter. He was just absolutely impeccable. I was sitting in my seat and I was thinking, man, remember when Kobe Altman and Kenny Atkinson had their preseason availability? It was the Friday before training camp started in Independence at the practice facility. And Kobe was asked about Ty Jerome. And he called him the MVP of September. And that was a quote that has certainly made its rounds across social media. You've heard it on this podcast. You've probably heard it referenced on the broadcast before. And when I heard that come out of Kobe's mouth, it's like, okay, I don't know how we're getting there. Like, I'm not sure that I can believe that. But if you would have told me on that day, hey, Ty Jerome, who has never played in a playoff game, has played 15 minutes for the Cavs, was like borderline NBA player at a certain point in his career on a 2-way contract with Golden State. He's going to, one, be named a finalist for Sixth Man of the Year, which he was earlier before the game on Sunday. and then scored 28 points in his postseason debut. There's going to be a point in this game where the Miami Heat are going to trap him near half court to get the basketball out of his hands. I don't think anybody would have believed you. I would not have believed that. Would you have? Like, what he's done this year has been remarkable, and how well he played on Sunday night was incredibly impressive. Now, can the Cavs count on 28 points from Ty Jerome every single night? No, of course not. That's not what Ty's going to be able to do in the postseason. But the fact that he's capable of this, I think makes his Cavs team so much more dangerous. I really do think that this is something that makes them so much more dangerous. And I do think it was fair to wonder, just because Ty had not been there before. Ty had not played in the playoffs before. I thought it was fair to wonder, okay, what is he going to look like when the lights get a little brighter? Because it's not the easiest thing to do. It's not the easiest thing to go from a regular season nice story to, hey, it's real. The playoffs are here. And Ty did that in just an incredible way on Sunday. I thought he was great. I thought Kenny Atkinson had a really good game as well. Overall, I think there's a lot of stuff for the Cavs to be happy about. And moving forward, I think that they're in a good spot. Kenny Atkinson, after the game, talks about Miami, and he said something that stuck out to me, and that was that this Miami team is going to make the Cavs better. Now, the Cavs should win this series. I picked them to win this series in 5 games. Nothing has changed in my opinion as far as that goes. Like, I still think that they're going to be games closer than this one. I said I thought there were going to be a couple of blowout games in this series. Maybe this counts as one. I thought Miami did a good job in this game of keeping things relatively close for the most part. But Kenny said that this Heat team is going to make them better. And I couldn't agree with that more, because you see a lot of teams that particularly are in Miami's position where they're the 8th seed. The Cavs are heavy favorites. It was the 3rd game in 5 days for Miami in 3 different cities. And all 3 games have been really, really important to the Heat. And I do think it would have been really easy for Miami to just kind of, okay, the Cavs are up by 16 in the second quarter. We're going to lie down. We're just not going to fight back. This is kind of, we're already starting down 1-0. We're going to lick our wounds here. We're going to get back to the hotel. We're going to rest, and we're going to come back and give it our all on Wednesday in game 2. I could have seen that being the case for most teams. It's not the Miami Heat. It's not who the Miami Heat are. The Miami Heat are going to play 48 minutes every single game, like it or not. They did that for the most part on Sunday. I don't know if they played a full 48, probably closer to like 45 minutes before the Cavs really pulled away. But the Cavs, I do think, are going to get past Miami. I think they're going to win this series. I know that's not some bold statement to say, oh, the 1 seed's going to win a series. Of course, right? Like, we all kind of understand that. But what I do think is that the Cavs are going to be better for facing Miami. I talked about before the series that I didn't think this was the path of least resistance, and it's not. Facing Atlanta would have been easier in the short term for the Cavs. But as long as they do get through the series, which again, I expect them to, and remain healthy while doing so, I think that they will be mentally tougher, because I think this is a bigger challenge. And I think in the long run, that's a really good thing. I think that entering a series potentially next round against the Indiana Pacers, if both teams get there, the Cavs will be better tested than they would have had they played Atlanta, had they played Chicago. I think that is something that benefits them. If they ultimately get to the conference finals and see the Boston Celtics, I think that being able to draw back on the experiences that they'll have from this series is a really good thing. And I think it's a really good thing for Kenny Atkinson in particular, because if you look up and down the Eastern Conference, how many coaches do you see and say, you know what? I don't think Kenny has a distinct coaching advantage over that guy. He does not have a distinct coaching advantage over Eric Spoelstra. He doesn't. In the next round, I don't think he has one over Rick Carlisle. I think that's really close. The rest of the East, I would take Kenny Atkinson over every other coach in the Eastern Conference. But I think that Spo is going to push Kenny to be a better coach. And I think ultimately that's something that will be a really, really good thing for the Cleveland Cavaliers.